Midnight music. Midnight music. Midnight music. Midnight music. Midnight music. Midnight music. Midnight music.
All right, ready to go. You know, I'm kind of excited about it. I don't have to listen to my co-host for a week. This is actually pretty great.
You can run it how you want.
Yeah, I mean, it is my show. Like, the reins were
Right.
given to me years ago, so I usually run it how I want, but now I really get to run it how I want.
Right.
That's great. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Meat Slapping Majesty pre-show with our special guest, Taylor Jade. We're going to get to learn a lot about Taylor as this show progresses. Hey, it's my co-host who's popping in. Hi, Will. Forget anything I said about being happy that you're not here. But I am happy. But I am also happy that you're not here. It's not your show.
Nothing personal.
Yeah, it's not your show. Well, you gave the show to me years ago. And hello, Taekwon. Taekwon, you'll grow to know and love Taylor. Taekwon is our friend who's in college who randomly found us and has decided to stick with us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Taekwon, I think, is a freshman in college.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I think Taekwon, are you at Florida Atlantic or Florida International? Because might be giving you praise for your basketball team. Maybe. Depending on what
Maybe.
school. Depending on what school that you're at. Because I totally forget Taekwon. I'm so sorry. Taekwon, we do need to get you on the show at some point. I know you've been begging. But we need to get you on the show when Will's back. Oh, and Charles is here too. Hello, Charles. Charles is one of my good friends from Georgia. He's a sophomore. Oh, you got early credits because you're a freaking nerd. And Florida Atlantic. All right, yeah, good job. Good job. There you go. All right, so Will has popped in, and now Will's also on the APS Twitch stream. Thanks, Will. I know, Charles, you're not from Georgia. Okay, I know, but you are literally living in Georgia, hence my friend from Georgia. Don't get me on a technicality. You will probably text me about this after the show, and I'm probably going to just ignore that call.
I don't feel like talking.
Well,
I'm
also,
very busy.
I have The Mandalorian to watch. Okay, so I have to get into my nerddom
Nice.
and everything. So, and I also just before we got on, I just saw the first real trailer. Hi, Frets, our historian from Canada. I saw the first real trailer for the Power Rangers reunion movie.
Okay.
And Power Rangers my original nerddom, so I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, I'd be actually down to watch that. I haven't watched Power Rangers in years, but
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
It's just it's very it's kind of bittersweet. Because, what happened to Jason David Frank, aka the Green Ranger.
Yeah.
And in the trailer for it, they showed somebody dressed up as the Green Ranger.
Oh shit.
So I don't know if they got him before he passed away, or is it a bluff? Yeah, no, it's
I wonder.
I wonder too. I wonder as well, and everything.
It always kind of makes me happy when Seth has that white Power Ranger inspired gear.
Oh, White Ranger stuff, yes.
I love that. Every time it comes out, I get so excited.
I do kind of miss the nerdy stuff that he would come out in.
Yes.
Because now I feel like he's just stealing Becky's clothes.
Yeah, I've noticed. Some weeks he comes out and I'm like, what is going on? Those red boots he wore the other week.
Oh, the red boots in Brooklyn, that was so funny.
I loved it, but I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
He's in, I think I've compared Seth to being he's in his Lady Gaga stage. Cause you remember when Lady Gaga first came out and she just wore whatever she wanted?
Or she came out as a guy one year.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? What is going on? I don't know.
Yeah, Seth's at the point where he's like, I can wear whatever I want and people will still love me. And he's right.
He's not wrong. He could do anything and I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever.
Exactly. I just want to know what Baby Rue's going to think in a couple of years. Because Becky had the I'm just gonna dress weird phase for all of last year, and now Seth just won't stop dressing like a maniac.
Yeah, the lace and the see-through, and I'm like, okay.
He came out in cheetah print pajamas this week. It was. I was like, all right, and it had a neck scarf.
Yeah. I don't understand it, but I'm here for it.
I'm like, you know what? It just works.
He could literally do, like you said, he could do anything, and people would just go with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, going and the sad part, not the sad, but the great part about it is he's going to put on another epic match with Logan Paul, the person that everybody hates.
I loved that segment where he was like FaceTiming him. Oh my God. It was great.
Oh, when he said bye-bye, bitch.
Oh my God. And then that just went everywhere on TikTok, everywhere, including myself. I can't even deny that I used it because.
Bye-bye, bitch. This is great. It's a great one-liner.
Yes.
Oh, the Green Ranger's to be announced for the Power Rangers thing. Thanks, Frets. If we're ever wrong on something during the show, Frets will be the first one to correct us.
Okay.
So, don't you worry about being incorrect. Frets will fact check it.
Sweet.
Like no one's business. So besides wrestling, we're going to talk a lot about wrestling in the next hour or so. And hopefully, and Frets will also keep us updated on AEW because I know this is right during Dynamite time. Mm-hmm. So Frets will keep us updated on anything great or lackluster, like when Frets revealed that they were rechanging the Atlantic title to the International title. But outside of pro wrestling, the nerddom that brings us together on this fine evening, what are some of your other nerddoms that you like? What are some things that you really geek out for?
Video games is one. Uncharted is one of my favorite series. I was really excited when they were doing the movie for it, and then the whole Last of Us series too.
Yeah.
Like that, and just working out. I'm obsessed with it. And I was so sick when I was pregnant with my daughter. I couldn't do anything.
Nothing at all?
No. I would go to the gym and there'd be a certain smell because my pregnancy nose was insane. But you'd smell something, I'd be like, nope, okay, I'm leaving.
Let's just go home.
Yeah, I'm not doing this today. I can't. And from even working in a prison, some of the smells, I'm like,
seriously, that is, the smells you see, especially in the population that you work with.
Oh, yeah, there's, I have so many stories.
All right, so without breaking HIPAA, because I know how that is sometimes, without breaking HIPAA, what is a story that you could be willing to tell us?
Honestly, anything. I just can't, names are a big thing, so I won't be saying the people that I work with.
You can give us the diagnosis. I have enough education to know what you're talking about.
Some of the things, for self-harm, a lot of people think cutting and hanging. But the thing I didn't realize going into it is how often these inmates will insert or swallow.
Oh, yes, the ye old prison wallet.
That, and I've seen a grown man swallow a pair of scissors, blades down right in front of me. I'm like,
wow, and they're still alive?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I don't know how, but I've had, because when I started there, I worked with the females a lot. Mm-hmm. And there's just some things that a girl could she could take a piece of her mattress, eat it, and manipulate it into her throat where she wouldn't be choking, but she would act like she would be choking.
Okay.
So you'd have to send her out because
you can't take that risk.
Right. Mm-hmm. But then halfway to the hospital, she'd cough it up, and it's just how? Where do you learn this?
She just wanted to get some fresh air, apparently.
I was sometimes they'll do stuff like that, and they'll be like, "I just did that, so you have to stay for overtime." Okay, cool.
I have an interesting question because I've worked in the field. Well, not in the prison, but I worked in the mental health field. Mm-hmm. How are you guys taught to de-escalate conflict? Are you guys allowed to get physical to an extent, or is there certain restraints you have to use?
Yeah, we're allowed to get physical. There's certain levels that we can use. Obviously, they want us to try to talk to them first.
Sure, yeah.
Some guys you just can't talk to, whether it be they're too mentally ill to understand what's going on, or they just are being jerks and are like, nah, I'm not listening to you. But they want us to try to de-escalate by talking first.
Yeah. Go through the protocol.
And then from there, it just depends on what they're doing. I have gone hands-on with people before, but we try to avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Just because potential lawsuits.
And that paperwork's probably a pain in the ass.
Yeah, well, that too. The paperwork, injuries. I just had a coworker last June. He got assaulted by one of our inmates because dude was, I don't know why he was mad, but he was mad at me. So my coworker told him to go back to his cell. He basically refused. They all went hands-on. They went to the wall, and dude had his foot under him like this and was like twisting and ended up causing like a broken foot and torn tendons, and he's been out for almost a year.
Well, yeah, with the body twist, yeah, it probably screwed up his whole knee.
Oh yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Jeez, that's ugh. So I see why you like the gym, because it gets you to de-stress a little bit. Yeah,
that, and if you're ever put in a situation, you have to fight someone because they're pissed. Like,
yeah,
have some sort of advantage, because there's a guy we just got back. He's 6'10", 350 pounds.
Oh wow!
Like if he was gonna go out the door to our unit, he has to duck so he doesn't hit his head.
Wow. Okay, he's a big man.
Yeah, I just like look. It's kind of like a Great Khali type of thing. I look up and I'm like, oh, hi.
Goodness.
But it's never dull. I'll give it that.
The mentally ill are a never dull population at all.
No, some of the stuff that comes out of their mouth, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you kind of grow a thick skin to that, and because you have to learn not to laugh and just kind of just let it slide off.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that we still wear masks at work right now, so like if I have to laugh, they can't
see you laughing.
Yeah, they're talking about getting rid of the masks now, but so I'm like, crap. Now I have to like not laugh.
Just learn to bite your tongue.
Watch my facial reactions to certain stuff, but.
And so are we getting actual mental health treatment in the facility too, or is it just like a holding cell?
Yeah, there's a lot of like DBT skills coaching, just teach, because a lot of them don't have coping skills.
Yeah,
because they've only been taught like crime or drugs, whatever. So they get like that. They get EMDR for trauma.
Okay.
It just depends on their treatment and their protocol. And some of them get sent there and they want nothing to do with treatment. So
yeah. I mean, everybody's at different levels of wanting to get treatment or not, and then that's why you have some people who just keep coming back.
Yep, there's always the rotating cycle.
Yeah. It's not EBT skills, Charles. It's DBT, dialectic behavioral therapy. Those are for the fun ones, like the borderlines.
Yeah, because there's no medication for that at all.
It's a personality disorder. You can't really change it.
That or the antisocials, too. That one's a hard one to treat.
Yeah, they are.
The easy ones are actually like...
Probably the bipolars.
They're in for like murder, and they're in for life, and they have trauma, and they just like they keep to themselves. They do their job, and they don't bother me.
So you have people who have like they're mentally ill, but they still have a life sentence.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it depends. The unit that I work on is pretty high functioning, so for their crimes it's a little different. There's we have a whole unit of like geriatric inmates. There's a lot of low functioning units. They're like treat to competency and all that.
Yeah.
But I have a pretty high functioning unit for the most part. That's
good. It means you can communicate with them a little bit better.
Yeah, that's why I like it. Like I have a hard time working with the lower functioning just because, well, I'm a sarcastic person. And if you are sarcastic with them, it kind of just like goes over their head.
Yeah.
at least with the higher functioning borderlines, if they're in a good mood, I can like kind of joke with them. And my favorite is watching wrestling at work, and they're like, "This is fake." And I'm
Have
like,
you noticed that a lot of mentally ill people actually enjoy pro wrestling? Because I've noticed that.
yes, I get more positive reactions than not. Because when Ring of Honor was separate from AEW, they had their own little like Sunday show. I'd watch that,
Nice.
and they love it. And then we don't get TBS there, but we do get SmackDown and Raw, so at least like it's something.
Yeah, you get those, start your week and end your week watching that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Takan wants to let you. Takan wants to tell you about you doing good work. By the way.
Oh, thank you. I enjoy it. I don't know what else I'd be doing.
True. I mean, you could be wrestling.
Indie wrestlers don't make much, and that's the only unfortunate part. Otherwise, I'd probably actually be wanting to be in like a manager role type of thing.
Managers are fun. I mean, there have been some great managers in the history of wrestling that have done really well for themselves.
Like, Woman was a big one for me.
Who?
Woman, Nancy.
Oh, I was like, who the hell's Woman? I was like, oh yeah, Woman.
I won't say last names, but
I totally understand.
yeah, she was one of my favorites. I mean, I was born in 1995, so obviously by the time I was watching wrestling, she was already done.
Yeah, you missed. You got born right right when wrestling was about to get real fun.
Yep, I've gone back and watched so much. And I'm like,
What have you learned?
I've gotten in a lot of trouble. DX was a big one that I got.
We all got in trouble for it.
Yes, telling your teacher to suck it isn't always go over well, I guess.
Yeah, I think Fred's got in trouble for that too. He said, I think Fred's DX chopped somebody, or DX chopped his teacher, got sent to the principal's office.
Nice. I wouldn't even be mad. What did you just do? I chopped you. Oh, okay.
DX chop, I told you to suck it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it.
So you were born right at the advent of DX, and so you've gone back and like watched that. Have you watched like NWO stuff too?
Yeah, I watch. I haven't watched everything, obviously, but
It takes some time.
because there's so many like different parts to it with like WCW in there and ECW and then the WWF and like that all like it's just there's a lot of material.
Yeah.
But I'll watch whatever. And my boss at work actually, he and I are going to, along with my husband, we're all going to AEW. So he and I will sit there and talk hours for wrestling.
Nice. Are you going to Dynamite?
Yeah, April 12th.
Oh, okay, so that's in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's in Milwaukee. I really wish Tony Khan, because I'm kind of like, I'm more north in Wisconsin, so
Okay.
Green Bay is about a half an hour north of me.
Ah.
And they always want to do it in Milwaukee. I'm like, why can't you just come up to Green Bay for once? Like,
I mean, outside of Lambeau Field, do they have an indoor arena in Green Bay?
yes, it's the Resch Center. It's like right across the street from Lambeau Field.
Gotcha.
Because I've gone to Raw 3 or 4 times there.
Okay, so it exists. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So are you a cheesehead then? Moving on to football.
No.
Oh, you're not a cheesehead.
I've had family in Cincinnati, actually.
Okay, so you're a Bengals fan.
Yeah, I love the Reds, but they're making it very hard to cheer for them this season.
I feel like that's every season for the Reds.
Yeah, like especially the last 2 years when they traded away so many people. I'm like, make it very hard to watch, and then the owner gets on like social media. Well, you guys are going to come to the games anyway, so why do you care who I trade? And I'm like,
wow, yeah, you don't care about your team, do you? And I heard your ballpark's fantastic for the Reds.
yes,
The Great American Ballpark.
yes, it's actually one of the most like I haven't been to a lot of baseball stadiums, but the ones I've been to, it's one of my favorites. Even though I'm a little biased because it's my team, but yeah, it's their new one is great.
Yeah, so Fred's is saying you're probably close to Nate. I think he lives in Oshkosh. Am I saying that right? Oshkosh?
Yeah.
Are you close to Oshkosh?
Yeah, it's about a 20-minute drive.
Okay. You wouldn't happen to know Nate, would you?
I might actually.
Nate the effing great, real effing game
Yeah,
on
yep,
Twitter.
I do know him.
Yes,
Yes,
Nate is a part of our network.
he's awesome.
Yes, he is.
I
Yes, he is. Nate actually does. Nate is reviewing Impact
okay.
and that comes out every Tuesday or so. He's taking a couple of weeks off, which is perfectly fine. But I think Nate is still in the TNA days of Impact.
Okay, yeah. I
Yes.
there's I loved AJ Styles in TNA. I don't know why. I was watching a clip in TikTok and it was talking about how when Jeff Hardy was like coming to TNA High and he was supposed to have a match with AJ Styles
Mm-hmm.
and he just pissed him off, I guess.
I mean, is as that's what Jeff Hardy does. So, unfortunately.
And then on April 15th, I'm pretty sure Nate's gonna be there because his podcast is a sponsor to Hornswoggle's promotion of ACW. But I have that event on the 15th of April.
You've got a busy April.
I get to meet Eddie Kingston. I'm so excited. I'm so fucking excited. I
Yeah.
have not heard a bad thing about him at all, like meeting him wise, and
Mm-hmm.
he's one of my favorite hardcore wrestlers from CZW. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, I'm over the moon. I'm so happy.
So I have a great story for you about Eddie Kingston. So Eddie Kingston was actually the first ever wrestler we ever interviewed for this podcast.
Oh, no way. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's on our YouTube page somewhere. So what ended up happening was we got into a working partnership with Evolve, the old indie franchise
Yeah.
that WWE bought and did nothing with.
Yes.
So we used to go to Evolve shows all the time because they were right in Queens. And there's just so much talent came out of Evolve. It's actually gross how good that promotion was. And I forgot what happened. I think we were on their mailing list, or I was on their mailing list. And they were like, oh, does anybody know any podcasts that would be willing to like interview some of our performers before big events? And so I put our name out there and we got part of their like mailing list so that they would send us wrestlers to be on our show. And the first one they sent us was Eddie Kingston. This is right towards when they had just gotten the WWE partnership. And so at the time, Eddie Kingston was in a feud with up and coming wrestler Montez Ford.
Okay.
So I personally interviewed Eddie Kingston, and it was a ball, an absolute ball. Because the greatest thing about I talked to Eddie Kingston the person, then I brought him into character, and the issue with was that he couldn't get out. I couldn't get him out.
Oh, okay.
Because you know how like if Eddie starts going, he's going, and he's
So
just
if you get him talking, it's kind of like he just.
yeah.
All right.
You put the quarter in, you're gonna listen to the whole song.
All right. I'm down if he's willing to talk to me about CZW. I'm all ears. I will listen to whatever.
Oh no, he is absolutely fun. One of the nicest people ever. He was great with his time. It's probably one of my favorite person that we've ever interviewed. I think we did Anthony Green too as well. Who the hell else did we do? What the hell's his name? He runs the sausage wrestling promotion in Florida. The hell is his name? I'll figure it out. Or Fretz will know. At the time. Oh, Fretz, you did get the Forbidden Door tickets. Just Fretz is in Canada. He bought Forbidden Door.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
We did not interview AR Fox. I wish we would have interviewed AR Fox. Because AR Fox is a great time, especially when he stopped smoking weed, which is never.
Never.
My friends and I used to have a joke, especially when we go to Evolve, that like you could smell AR Fox. Like you knew he was here just because weed would just be a freaking cloud coming in before his entrance.
That's funny.
He was amazing. He was amazing. But I think it's about time to get this show on the road. Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
And ironically, I am not ready. Hold on. I have to.
No worries.
I have to figure out what my intro thing is because we're gonna put this in audio and video. So, the clip. Where did I write this intro little paragraph? Dun, 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 dun. Here it is. Okay. Da-da-da-da. Dun-dun-dun. What's my quippy little thing at the end? Oh, I know what I want to talk about. Gotcha. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Hopefully, I will be ready. And all right, yes, we are. All right, we're going to be starting in 5. We're going to do a preview slide, by the way, preview slide, and then we'll get into it. Just you'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's get this party rolling in 5, 4, 3, 2. Coming up this week on Kings of the Rings podcast, King Rickie is joined by Taylor Jade tonight to discuss what might be the greatest hug in the history of pro wrestling. Plus, Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes start getting serious, MJF gives himself a rebar mitzvah, and a legendary comedian is going into the WWE Hall of Fame. So get back with the Elite Hangman page. It is Kings of the Rings podcast, episode number 333, so eloquently titled The Bronze Kneecap, exclusively on Wrestle Addict Radio, and it starts right now. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome everybody to Kings of the Rings podcast, episode number 333, so eloquently titled The Bronze Kneecap. Of course, I am your host, King Rickie Rose. Thank you for joining me tonight, and I mean me because, as you can see, Will's not here, Kay's not here, so it would be just me, the only host that you actually really care about. Thank you guys again for joining me, but don't worry, folks, I brought a friend with me, a newfound friend, all the way from the Midwest. Not a cheesehead, but a Bengal. But living in Wisconsin. The lovely Taylor Jade. Taylor, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am doing absolutely wonderful. We're going to be learning a lot about Taylor Jade this week, and also talking about some of the craziest things going on in pro wrestling, especially that awesome hug. Quiet Taquan, Kay did not carry the show. I love Kay, but it's not true, Taquan. I know you miss Kay. We're going to try to bring Kay back, especially for next week. Because did you know it's 10 days till WrestleMania Night 1? It is 10 days, and that is going to be an interesting show when we do that next week for our go-home show. But before we get into any of that, Taylor, are you ready to play the first guest game?
Oh, I am definitely ready.
All right, let's get this show on the road. First guest game with Taylor starting right. All right, Taylor, your first question of our lovely first guest game is, what got you into wrestling?
So I had a friend back in 2001, and keep in mind I'm in kindergarten at this point. But they were a big wrestling, their family loved it, everything. So one night, they're like, you want to stay and watch it? And I'm like, sure. I don't know what it is. I've never watched it.
Okay.
And it was I can't remember the entire card, but I remember the main event was a non-title between Chris Jericho and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
All right.
And I was obsessed. I don't know what it was, and it wasn't even Stone Cold, honestly. It was Jericho that drew me in.
Really? Chris Jericho?
Yes. I loved him on the mic. Heel Jericho was top tier back then. It just drew me in, and I was hooked ever since, honestly.
So Jericho has a lot of different forms. What is your favorite form of Jericho?
Oh my God. I don't know if I can pick. I really loved his his early 2000s gimmick was probably my favorite.
Was that a heel or a face Jericho?
He was a heel for the longest time because he was with Stephanie for a while. Then he kind of turned on her for a little bit.
Oh, okay. You're talking about WrestleMania 18 Jericho.
Yeah.
Then they went up against Shawn at 19. Okay, I know what era you're talking about.
Yeah.
Good old Jericho. It was like Jeritron 3000 Jericho.
Yeah.
Nice. Very, very nice. Okay, next question that we have here. Who's your favorite current wrestler? I know this answer, but just let everybody know.
Jon Moxley.
So, have you always been a Jon Moxley fan?
Yes. since 2006, actually. So
Oh,
part
okay,
of the
early.
reason I'm such a Bengals fan is because I had family in Cincinnati back in the early 2000s. And my family knew that I was into wrestling. And at the time, I don't know if anyone else knows this, but HWA, or the Heartland Wrestling Association, was a WWE developmental. And then it was bought by Mox's trainer, Cody Hawk.
Okay.
That's when I kind of started getting into it. And Mox was, I want to say, 20, 21 years old at the time. And there's a lot of great people that came in and out of HWA.
Yeah.
Nigel McGuinness made it a somewhat.
What a gem. Nice guy. Lovely man.
His name was Dick Rick at the time, but LA Knight came out of there. Sammy Callahan.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me LA Knight was Dick Rick?
Yes.
How come I have not used that as a heel moniker for me? I do not know.
I don't know, but like HWA, everyone had like a gimmick. So like Moxley was a football player, and Cody was a surfer, and oddly Dick Rick was like a doctor gynecologist type of role. I don't know why, but that's just what he was.
Fun fact, I had a friend in high school. His last name was Seaman, and his father was a gynecologist. So just let that go around in your head for a little bit. Yes, Dr. Seaman, the gynecologist. It was an amazing thing to be a part of.
And the other one that came out of there, he wrestles on AEW, The Blade, but his HWA name was Pepper Parks, and his gimmick was like cheerleading.
Okay, so he really took that Spirit Squad thing to another level.
Yes, his finisher was the Pepper Shaker neck breaker, and then like before he did it, he'd get on the top rope and he'd do like spirit fingers and all that. I'm like, so it's cool seeing all the people that came out of there.
Ironically, the Blade is wrestling right now on AEW.
Oh, that's awesome.
But that is pretty crazy. So you've literally been like a day one Mox fan.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What do you like about Moxie so much? Besides the fact that you followed him for a long time, so you kind of know his story.
Yeah. I mean, at the growing up at the time, because I was like 10, 11 years old when I first saw him. So I didn't know it at the time. I just liked him because he was like so off the wall and said whatever he wanted to say.
Okay.
But reading his book and then like just watching old promos, like he and I kind of grew up similar. So it was nice having someone to relate to.
Yeah.
And I've met him once, and he's just a great guy, great overall guy.
That's good to hear. I mean, I've met a fair amount of wrestlers, and I think you can attest to this too, but most wrestlers are really nice people. Most of them. You have some bad apples here and there. R-Truth being one of them. I had a bad experience with R-Truth, which is weird to say, but
really,
yeah.
I would never have like guessed that.
It was Access at New York when they had Access for WrestleMania, because like spoiler alert, that's not a thing anymore.
It's not.
No, it's actually a lot cheaper. Collect somewhat. But yeah, when I did the photo with Archer, he just really didn't seem like he wanted to be there. I was like, all right, Archer, whatever.
What WrestleMania was that?
That was 35 in New York.
No way, I was there.
Well, yeah, I mean, New York is my back, essentially. I live in New York, so I spent a crap ton of money that week going to all the Access and it was a wild time. Absolute wild time. So we learned a lot about your love of Moxley, but who is your favorite wrestler of all time?
I'm gonna stick with Jericho, only because
really?
I know a lot of people don't like him because he's got certain views outside of wrestling. Personally, I don't really get into that.
Yeah.
But he's great on the mic. He's great in the ring, and even now at his age, he's still wrestling and helping out the younger guys like Daniel Garcia and Ricky Starks. Like, I know I never really get tired of him. And plus, singing Judas at the top of your lungs at a show is always fun too. I
went to a Dynamite show, but he was not on that show. So I never got to sing Judas with the crowd.
I lost my voice my first AEW show after that.
Would you ever consider going on the Jericho cruise?
Oh, I'd love to.
We have fans of the show who have gone multiple years and they say it's a fun time.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I've heard too. I do want to. I am. We did consider maybe going on one year, but who knows? All right, next question for you. We have your favorite current wrestler, favorite wrestler of all time. What's your favorite match of all time?
So when I was reading that, it took me. I had to sit and think about it for a good couple days because I'm like, one match of all time is hard to like, pin down with everything. But after really thinking about it, I really liked Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero at Halloween Havoc in '97.
That's a great choice.
The storytelling, the spots, like it was so perfect. I couldn't think of a better match, and those two together were always amazing.
Listen, I know you were born in the mid '90s, but if you go back to those WCW Nitro Cruiserweight days, those matches are bananas. That whole division is unbelievable.
And they were like really overlooked at the time because it was all like Kevin Nash's and all that.
Yeah,
The big guys, which I mean they had their place, and I loved their stuff too. But like that whole division with like Eddie and Ray, it was.
Yeah, no, that's a wild division. They should have got more shine in WCW because they were a show for a very, very long time. So we kind of already know, and if anybody doesn't know, we kind of already know your wrestler name, Taylor Jade, your EFED name,
Yes.
and so I'm assuming your EFED persona has its own finisher.
Yes.
But if you were an actual wrestler, not your EFED wrestler, but if you were an actual wrestler, we'll assume it's Taylor Jade too as your name. What would your finisher be?
I go back and forth sometimes, like especially if I play too, like just not even with EFEDs, just like my character. I normally either go with the curb stomp or an armbar, depending.
Of course,
But
you
if I
being
had
a
to pick one
Jericho
of
fan, you'd
those-
have to use an armbar.
If I had to pick one, I'd probably use the curb stomp first.
Okay.
But I don't know that like there's just something special about for me like making someone tap out. I don't know what it is. I just like it. But
So what variation of the armbar would it be? I keep thinking Jericho's stupid list of wrestling moves.
I forgot about that. I can't. It's hard to pick one because I like Becky's.
Yeah.
It'd probably be something similar to hers.
Mm-hmm.
But
Not bad, not bad. So I don't think we've ever asked this question on the first guest game before, but I'm just going to shoot from the hip a little bit. So you have your finisher, but what song will be your entrance song? What's your entrance theme?
oh my god, it would have to be something like Metallica wise. I don't know, like specific songs. I don't know because I don't want to take anything from like a Nick Gage type of thing because he's got Metallica as his entrance music. And so not that same song, but either like Metallica or Deftones maybe because I love Deftones.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So you're not thinking like the only Metallica song I really know is like Enter Sandman. That's because I'm a Yankee fan and Mariano Rivera.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I get that.
Yeah. Oh, Fred's is saying Seek and Destroy.
Ooh, that might have to be it.
There we're going to go with that. Thank you, Fred.
Yeah, we'll
for
go
that.
with Seek and Destroy. We'll go with. I
All
like
right,
that.
so we are ready for our final question and the most important question of the first guest game. And even though you've been kind of prepped on this question, we want you to answer naturally, whatever comes first to your mind. Are you, listen, very important, are you Team Slack or are you Team Fuck You Slack?
I really want to just lean towards Team Fuck You Slack.
There you go. That's it. Final answer?
So, yeah, that's my final answer.
Yes, number one for good guys, Team Fuck You Slack. Welcome to the team, Taylor Jade. And that's probably like 7,000 for Team Fuck You Slack. I think there's probably only one Team Slack member at this current moment. We've been running this for like 4 or 5 years. I mean, outside of Slack being a part of his own team. It might be his dad. We did have his dad on the show. It might be. I don't know. His dad may have also declined, but I don't remember. But Now you've known a little bit about our great guest Taylor Jade, who's joining us this week. So let's get into this week in wrestling. And first and foremost, we have a third member of the Hall of Fame. Thank God, WWE, and it comes in legendary comedian Andy Kaufman. Now, if you guys remember or know any of your wrestling history, Andy Kaufman was in essentially the first worked shoot feud with everybody's favorite creepy uncle, Jerry the King Lawler. And they really, really kind of just blurred the lines between reality and fiction, and it went over unbelievably well. And I think without Andy Kaufman and Lawler getting to that feud, we don't really get any of these kind of, fourth wall breaking feuds that we've come to know and love throughout the years of wrestling. But to you, Taylor, what are your thoughts on having Andy Kaufman in the WWE Hall of Fame?
I think it's a great choice, especially like you said. I don't know how much we'd have like those, like breaking the fourth wall and like mixing storyline with reality. So I think they made a great choice with that. Honestly,
yeah. I mean, they were going on talk shows and like almost trying like I think that I don't know if they were on Letterman or whoever was doing like the Tonight Show at the time, but they were on like national TV, almost trying to kill each other. It was absolutely wild. Andy Kaufman with the freaking neck brace the whole time. It was pretty nuts. So currently we now have 3 members of the WWE Hall of Fame. It's actually a fantastic class. You have Great Muta, you have Rey Mysterio, who's clearly going to be the headliner, and you have Andy Kaufman. So Taylor, my question to you is, who else is getting into this Hall of Fame? We've got 10 days left, and they probably are going to announce maybe 2 more people, hopefully.
I don't know if they'll do it, but I'd really like to see Chyna be inducted on her own.
I would like that as well. I just saw her A&E biography, and that was really good.
Yeah, I've seen parts of it. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but I would really like to see her in it. I don't know if they will, given the situation, but I mean, they inducted at WrestleMania 35. They put in DX with her in it, so I don't see why they wouldn't put her in. But
listen, X-Pac is in the Hall of Fame twice.
Right.
That little weasel that he is.
Right.
Chyna can get in on her own.
Yeah, I hope that she would be a good one. I don't know if they will.
I think the A&E doc is a good step in the right direction. I think it shows that they're leaning towards putting her in at some point. Because as Mr. Fred said, it is a tough watch. At the end, it becomes a really tough watch because you do get to see her documented downfall, and the just kind of kangaroo court that it became. But I think it is a sign in the right direction that she, hopefully somewhere down the road, she is going to get inducted by herself. Which I think we really could. I mean, they even have, she has one of the prettiest Signature Series championship belts out there, like the China belt. But they came out as really nice. Yeah. So hopefully it is. Yeah. So if not China, we got China, then who else would we try to get in there?
It's just, I have a hard time narrowing it down because there's a lot of people I'd put in that they probably won't put in. I can't pick.
Rattle them off.
It's so. I'd like to see John Cena.
Wait, but John's going into the Hall at some point. But you're saying...
I know. I know. It was kind of off the wall, but.
John Cena of all... I mean, John Cena deserves the Hall, even though I despise his character that he plays.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've never been a big like John Cena fan. I'm not like, oh my god, yes, John Cena, but like, I mean, he's done a lot for
the business. Yeah.
Yeah.
He actually they do. Speaking of A&E, because I think WWE's A&E biographies are really good. They did a Rivals special with him and The Rock. So he made some. He spoke some truths in that one, which I thought he would never say.
Yeah, the one that got me, because I saw part of it, was when he came out and like Rock had those notes on his wrist or whatever.
Yeah.
And I found it funny because he goes, he who shall not be named told me that he's got something right on his like wrist, and then the next scene it's Miz talking. I'm like way to make it a little too obvious, but some people were saying it was Punk too, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe
It could have been Punk.
it could, honestly,
I wouldn't put it past him.
with all his drama too.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past Punk at all to say that. It was interesting because John Cena admits, because if you remember that feud, John Cena was going off on different like radio shows, like just popping off about The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a shoot. He explains it in the doc. He explains it that he was trying to get Rock to come back. Like that was his intent the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Which it worked, but like the problem was he didn't let Dwayne Johnson in on the angle.
Yeah, so he kind of it was.
So they legitimately did not like each other for a long time, and it was all Cena's fault.
It's of course.
But now they've made up and done Fast and the Furious movies together. But who knows? We'll go into the Hall of Fame. Fred is saying Stacy Keibler's coming next. Who knows?
Oh. Yeah, I could see.
Yeah, you know, that's fine. Go, Stacy. I do want to play the Cena showcase, though. I just want to beat up John Cena for a whole showcase.
I have a feeling that's kind of why they did that, because some people just like legitimately can't stand him, so they're like, kind of like when AJ Styles and the Good Brothers like, well, we'll beat up John Cena, like that whole thing.
It's a great era of SmackDown. Beat up.
Yes, I love that.
I was in the crowd at that SummerSlam when AJ beat Cena clean as a whistle. The place lost it. Absolutely lost it.
There was a Raw that I went to, and it was Cena and AJ when they were starting that feud. And the crowd went for like 5 minutes back and forth between Let's Go Cena, AJ Styles, and all that.
Yeah.
Oh my, I didn't have a voice for like 2 days after that.
It's a shame. I mean, I know they had their blow off at Rumble, but that was a Mania match in the making.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it's a shame that they never got a Mania, but they had a great feud. Let's move on to everybody's hottest free agent in the world of pro wrestling. And his name is Bill Goldberg, because news broke out that Bill Goldberg is finally out of his Legends contract with WWE, a la the Garcia twins, because we don't want to be called the Bella twins anymore. So, what is the likelihood that Bill Goldberg wrestles somewhere else?
I hope he doesn't. I don't know how big of a fan Tony Khan is of him, but
I'm gonna go on a limb and say he's a huge fan.
From the ring, please.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say Tony Khan is a massive Goldberg fan. I
could see that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I could see that. Oh.
You think think about how happy he would be to see Goldberg at a press conference after that. He'd be hugging him like he hugged the I forgot who he was hugging before in that viral photo that went all over the place.
Shoot, who was that?
I forgot, but he'd be like a kid in a candy store.
Oh, I could see him being like an absolute like. Guess who I signed?
It was Claudio. Thank you, Frats.
Yes.
Yeah,
I could see him doing that with Goldberg. And
so speaking of Claudio, when you do meet Eddie Kingston, because we were talking about there, Eddie Kingston and Claudio don't like each other.
Is that like
that's a real thing?
Oh God, I ain't saying that name then.
That's a real thing.
Oh my!
That came up in my interview with Eddie. He's like, I don't want to call him. He called him Claudio on purpose. Like it really like changed his tone.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. Noted. Don't bring him up. Okay.
Don't bring up Claudio.
No.
But back to Mr. Jack Hammer himself. I can picture, because we're going to talk about AEW in a little bit. I can picture this. I can picture Goldberg being a surprise for MJF.
Oh my God.
Listen, MJF is the devil and everything. He's trying to be this heel, although he's kind of getting over as a heel because that's what MJF does. But it would make perfect sense for Goldberg to just come in and squash that.
I could see it happening. Now that you say that, I'm like, damn it.
It would take a lot of people up. It would probably take, wrestling purists up. I'd probably start crying laughing if I could on Twitter. Because I know that's what's going to explode wrestling Twitter.
Oh, everyone is going to lose it. Everyone. Oh.
I can't wait. I live for the moments when wrestling Twitter burns to the ground, like the return of Eva Marie, one of the greatest moments in wrestling Twitter history.
I will admit I was probably a part of that because I hate her. I can't. I'm sure she's a nice person, but as a wrestler, dear God.
Yeah, no, she was not it. It's a shame. But if Bill Goldberg shows up in AEW, none of us are going to be surprised. I don't think Bill goes anywhere outside of AEW if he decides to go back into the ring.
Yeah.
Like Bill Goldberg is not an indie guy.
No. I couldn't even see him being like an Impact guy either.
No. No.
Yeah, most he goes to AEW at most.
But I feel like he's satisfied with wrestling. Like he came back for his son. His son saw him wrestle. He became the Fruit Roll-Up Universal Champion, and there's nothing more for him to do.
Right, like it just wouldn't make sense for him to have anything else to do or have anyone else to wrestle. But...
Yeah, just don't pull a Flair, Goldberg. Like retire and just don't pull a Flair. Please don't pull a Flair.
Please don't. Just stay away from the ring, please.
Yeah. So more on that later. Let's get into SmackDown that happened this past week, where Cody Rhodes became everybody's favorite friend counselor, in all black, and trying to bring Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn back together, and it clearly didn't work. KO walked out. And then, moving forward, Sami Zayn had to relive even more trauma later on in the night as he confronted his former somewhat best friend, Jake. So I don't know how Sami's feeling mentally, because he went from trying to confront his real-life best friend and that failing to Jay, the guy who he thought was his really good friend, betraying him. This is all in a span of less than 2 hours.
Right.
Like, oh my God, the mental health counselor in me, I was like, somebody needs to give him help.
He needs a hug or something. I don't.
Or as well, he did get his hug, and then the Usos attack Sami, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like Stone Cold Steve Austin coming to help the Alliance, KO comes back in also a hoodie, which I thought was interesting, and then they had the lover stare down.
Yes.
Wilbur wanting to one of the greatest pops in history to what I will argue will be the greatest hug in the history of pro wrestling. Sami and Kevin Owens back together.
Yes.
This time. What were your thoughts on that whole slew of events leading to this?
I'm kind of it's one of the few like I watched WWE obviously, but it's one of the few storylines where I'm like, I will sit down and watch the entire thing. I won't be on my phone, I won't be nothing. It'll just be like I'm watching it. And right before Sami was betrayed and all that, when he took that kick to the face, if you watch it, he whispers something to him.
Really?
I shouldn't say he did. It looked like it. And so I'm wondering if that's going to go somewhere, but I'm fully invested in whatever happens.
Yeah, I am too. I think, and I really hope, I think this solidifies their WrestleMania Night 1 main event slot.
Yeah.
I think, because they are getting the tag team match because Jay doesn't know when to shut up. So they are getting that, which I think is fitting for them so people can stop complaining that Sami Zayn's not the main event of WrestleMania. He gets Night 1, suck it up. Please.
Right.
Please, I love it. Like I said, I don't think there's a greater hug in wrestling besides Macho Man and Elizabeth.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. I will agree to that.
But Jesus, that pop was actually phenomenal. It's really weird how Sami and Kevin, for their entire wrestling careers, have done the same exact storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And it always works.
Yes, it doesn't matter where it it just makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how they keep doing it, but it is absolutely fantastic. But the problem is, I don't know if they're better as friends or as enemies.
Right, because them on the same team is great, but when they have matches against each other, when they're just angry, it's good stuff. Like they produce great matches.
Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable. So I love to see where this is going. Sammy's going to get his spotlight like KO got a spotlight last year, and they're both going to do it in the main event, and hopefully that leads to the end of the bloodline, which is literally going on for like 2 years.
Right, like
Yeah, so
let's do something else.
who knows what happens. Hopefully, again, like I said, this tag team match will probably be night one main event over Rhea in Charlotte. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah, moving on to Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes stopped getting polite and started getting real because there were some shots taken at each other on Monday. In particular, Roman Reigns pretty much saying, "You failed at AEW." Which he's got an... I'm not going to say he's right. I'm going to say he has an argument.
Right, like I can see where he's coming from.
Yeah. But I think Cody, or as I like to call him, Reverend Rhodes, had a great retort. Where he said, number one, stop talking about my father.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, when I beat you, everybody's going to leave you. Like, I loved it. And then the greatest part about it is Roman just walked away.
Mm-hmm. He had no rebuttal.
Yeah. Did Cody get Roman, Taylor?
I I think he did, honestly. Because this kind of reminds me of not necessarily the feud, but like a few years ago when it was John Cena and Roman Reigns type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and John Cena was absolutely owning him.
Yeah.
Now Roman's kind of owning Cody, but then Cody came back, and then he was like, "Oh, he didn't have an answer for it."
Yeah, and he even stopped... He stopped Solo from attacking Cody, too.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was a good little... It seemed like it was an ad-lib by Cody. Because he was in the middle of talking to Roman, and he glared at Solo. He's like, "You've been staring at me the whole night." And he's like, "Let me tell you right now, you're not ready for me." And I was like, oh, okay. So I loved it, everything. I mean, it is weird, because we've talked about this on the show before, my co-host Will. It's that for some reason, Cody, at the end of his AEW run, no one wanted to see him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand the psyche of it. I mean, I wasn't heavily following AEW at the time. But he comes back last year at WrestleMania as the prodigal son. And he is over like Rover. And I don't know what it is about his switch from AEW to WWE that just made him so beloved again.
Yeah, I didn't understand it either, because I remember like one of his last like matches, everyone was just booing the crap out of him. And then a few months later, he's wrestling Seth at Mania, and everyone's like, "Oh my God!" Like where did we go from "I hate you" to going for the title?
Yeah, you know what I think it is? Because I was part of that Mania crowd last year. I think it was the presentation. And Mania crowds are the smartest of the marks, which doesn't really say much about that. However, the fact that I think they loved it as a way just to take a jab at Tony and company, who Tony was probably in the arena and crying along with everybody else.
Probably.
Because he's such a mark. But I think it's the fact that they didn't change a thing about him before he came back. Like, it's still that same Cody you saw from AEW. So in essence, it's kind of fourth wall breaking. It's kind of like a surprise hidden character in a video game. And you're just like, oh crap, he's here. And I think that's probably what spurred the excitement. It was like you were getting something you weren't supposed to be getting.
Right. And there was, I don't know who it was, there was a creator on TikTok who was talking about, they were angry. They're like, what has Cody done to deserve this spot like so quickly, and all the comments were, "Do you not remember Stardust?" And I'm like, they're not wrong. Like, I get it because he hated. I know he hated that character.
Yeah, he played it really well. I thought, at least.
Yeah, he made do with what he was given at the time.
Yeah,
he did it well. I'm interested to see where it goes though, because I'm mixed if they're gonna make Roman pass like 1,000 days, or if they're just gonna give us what I guess all of us want.
That is the scary intrigue of this entire match, because 1 week Paul Heyman was like, Roman's been Red Champion for over 1,000 days, and then like the next week Michael Cole's like, oh nope, 929. I'm like, oh no. like he
right.
there is a good argument to put Roman over 1,000 days as champion, because no one's going to pass that in wrestling probably ever. Like, we're not going to get Bruno Sammartino like 4 years running, or like Bob Backlund, who's like champion for 2 years, which Roman has clearly passed. But 1,000 days as the top guy? That's hard. But like, Cody's also really intriguing too, because like the Rhodes have never won a world title. Like, that's a great line to do.
Yep.
And unfortunately, and I mean, he did say he's like, my brother's wrestling for another company. He's not going to be there, which kind of sucks, as I want Dustin to be there. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm assuming Dustin at some point will probably be backstage, just not on TV.
Right. Yeah. They won't be kind of in the match like the Bloodline is.
Exactly. But I mean, Cody won me over when he did a Hell in a Cell match with one arm.
Yeah, that was mind blowing. When he took that jacket off, I'm like, what are you?
Because we all saw the news things. I was like, okay, he's injured, blah blah blah. And you know, when you watch wrestling enough, you're like, okay, maybe this is just a bluff.
Yeah. Like, oh, he's injured.
Yeah. And then
he took that coat off, and
we're like, what?
Holy crap!
Yeah.
I give him props for wrestling through that, but oof.
Been coming out on Raw the next night. Just to get written off of TV. I know.
Right.
I love this promo. Things are heating up. This is exactly the promo we need going into WrestleMania. And who knows what the hell's going to happen next week on Raw when it's the go-home shows. I mean, Cody's wrestling on Friday, but next week is going to be intense. I think Roman's going to get his payback. I think we're gonna get something really good next week. I'm very excited for it. Moving along to what's probably going to be three guys trying to kill each other at WrestleMania, even though I am not a fan of how they booked this, but I'm okay with it. We're going to have an Intercontinental Championship triple threat match between Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre. In my opinion, Taylor, and we go back and forth with this, I felt Gunther deserved a one-on-one match at WrestleMania, because I think there's something special about you just facing one other person at WrestleMania. However, they're giving it to Drew and Sheamus. I'm okay with it. I think the match is going to be really fun.
Yeah, the match is going to be good, but just from watching his one-on-one at the Royal Rumble, I was like blown away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they have to give him his own spot at Mania. There's no way. But I'm not horribly mad about it. I like both of them.
Yeah. I mean, I was sold. I mean, I've been a big Walter fan when he was Walter. But his match at Clash with Sheamus was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And I was like, just give me another one at WrestleMania. That's all I want. I was like, Sheamus, Gunther, 2, WrestleMania. It sells itself.
Right.
But I mean, Drew is still Drew, and he's also a big man. So it's going to be wacky. This match is going to be really wacky, and I don't know where it's going to go. I think Gunther wins, barely, but it's going to be a wacky match.
And Sheamus isn't a small dude either. I've had him run past me at a Raw, and my brother-in-law almost got run over by him. But, like, like some of them do look like smaller on TV, and then you like see them in like person. You're like, oh, you are like, you know,
Yeah.
as larger than life
He is, yeah,
person.
no, these are all three massive men who don't care about hitting each other.
No,
So it's going to be a very scary.
just imagine like the chops.
Oh, the chops are going to be fantastic.
Oh yes.
Absolutely fantastic. I can't wait for it. I cannot wait for it at all. Let's move along to something that I'm back and forth about. So WWE, in lieu of having a nothing battle royal for the men's and women's, are going to have nothing tag team matches for the men's and women. This includes, and they're calling them the WrestleMania showcase matches for the tag teams, including the Street Profits, which I'm so sad that they're in this. The Street Profits, Alpha Academy, the Viking Raiders, and Braun Strowman and Ricochet for the men's showcase match. And then we have only one team announced, I believe, thus far, which is Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez in the women's showcase tag team match against three other essentially made up tag teams for the women's division. And I don't know how to feel about these showcase matches. What are your thoughts on them essentially just throwing wrestlers in a match?
I'm not the biggest fan of it, honestly. I don't like it because like they're just gonna throw random tag teams, not all random tag teams, but like especially for the women, like because you got Becky and Lita doing their thing with that, so that there's a team out right there. So you're just gonna throw random girls together or random guys together and just be like, here you go, this is your match.
Yeah, I just,
Like I like Liv, I like Raquel, but like why?
there's no rhyme or reason to it at all, and I understand people saying like, well, they're getting a payday and that's good for them, which I get and I understand, and that's great and all, but
Yeah.
I'm part of a thought of you need to earn your way into WrestleMania. Like one does not just get a match at WrestleMania, like you need to earn it. Um, and if you're not going to earn, you want to be put people in like a multi-person match, or essentially this is going to be like a tornado tag, somewhat of these matches. This has to lead to something. And currently, right now, neither of these matches, the men's or the women's showcase matches, are leading to a title opportunity, a main event match somewhere down the road. Like this is literally a match for nothing, and
Right.
that's not good.
If they were doing something with it, like you said, like a main event at a different pay-per-view or a championship, whether it's the tag or the women's, whatever it is, like, okay, fine. But it kind of feels just not necessarily sloppy, but they kind of like ran out of ideas or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's cool that they're getting screen time and it's cool that they're getting paid, but it doesn't really do it for me.
yeah, it doesn't for me either. My idea that I have, especially so let's say it's not tags. Let's say it's maybe a mini battle royal. If they went back to the battle royal gimmicks for a while and just don't bring back that stupid trophy, so the
Yeah.
Mae Young one.
Y- Yeah.
Yeah, all you have to do, because now you have two of them, if you brought back the battle royal idea or made these showcase matches a little bit more chaotic, is that the winner of these matches, and this is an easy fix, folks, the winner of this match is guaranteed a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match.
I like that because then they're at least fighting for something.
And boom, that settles everybody's issue. Everybody gets on, and then one person is selected as getting a spot in the ladder match. Whether or not they actually win is a totally different story, but at least they are going for something, and it means something to the crowd.
Right.
But we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll switch it up. They still have 10 days to do this, so we will see what happens. Let's move over to AEW and Long Island's favorite devil child. MJF decided to have a re-bar mitzvah. Why? I don't know. He needed something to do. This was totally extravagant for no reason, but unfortunately for MJF, he got mic checked by quote unquote the three other pillars of AEW. So my first question for you, Taylor, because I know AEW is a little bit more your jam these days. What are your thoughts on the pillar thing of AEW?
I agree with a couple of them, but Sammy as a pillar, I can't. I've tried like getting into his character and I just can't. Darby, I understand. Jungle Boy, I understand a little bit too. But like Sammy just doesn't do it for me. And I don't know why. Like it's not like it has nothing to do with him and his wife. I just like I can't get into him for whatever reason.
I feel like Sammy just rubs people the wrong way from a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I think I think he's because if you look at it, Sammy's character is just MJF with a wife.
Yeah.
That's really all it is.
I did like the fact that Darby tore into like the people complaining on Twitter and including
Upper wrestlers,
MJF.
yeah.
I was like, okay. Like I really like Darby.
I respect the hell out of Darby. I've seen Darby take some hits on the indies, and that man just keeps getting up. I respect him for his wrestling acumen. Not what he did to Gigi Dolan, but his wrestling acumen. I respect him.
Yeah.
I respect him for it. So if not Sammy, who do you replace Sammy with in this pillars concept? Gender notwithstanding.
I wouldn't like I like Mox in the world title, obviously, but like I feel like he's done it enough to where it can be someone else's turn. I would have loved to see. I know he went back to Ring of Honor. Would love to see Eddie. I think Brian's gonna go back to Ring of Honor as well. But I think Brian would be a good spot there too, even though he just faced him.
Yeah.
Trying to think off the top of my head. I might even put Jericho in there too.
Jericho's a good argument for being a pillar because without Jericho, hardly any of this is possible.
Right.
He is like essentially the face that started the place. Like he was that.
Does he necessarily need to win? No.
No.
But he's done a lot for that company.
Yeah. Do you feel like the four pillar storyline has been forced? Because this is something I don't feel like the four pillars have really been like an organic thing. I feel like it's something that's kind of already been told or been talked about on the interwebs as like, oh, these are the four guys. So does it feel forced to you that they're doing this and that they're trying to just appease everybody?
Yeah, a little bit. So I'm kind of like, okay, but I don't.
Yeah,
it's kind of over. It's overplayed, I think, a little bit.
I think it is, but I think on the positive, because I have a giant critique of AEW sometimes that they rely on already established people when they were supposed to be the brand to establish new people. And I'm like, okay, now I feel like this is a step in the right direction. Like MJF's your champ, you're bringing Darby's getting away from Grandpa Sting, and Jungle Boy got away from Christian, and Sammy got away from allegations outside of the ring, and now you can actually really start to build, I think, something unique with these guys who were never really stars anywhere else outside of AEW besides the Indies, obviously.
Right.
So I think it's a step in the right direction if they pull it off. But I mean, with Forbidden Door coming up, which is essentially just a crossover pay-per-view and all, I don't know how this is gonna go.
Yeah, I'm a little confused on the direction personally, but I'm willing to see it out and hopefully they do it correctly.
Yeah. I mean, they might have to drag this out to what All Out is probably their next big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to drag it to All Out maybe because I said Forbidden Door screws everything up. Mm-hmm. Which is a pleasant thing to have because you're working with NJPW and a lot of their talent is going to come over. So like it's a pleasant problem to have, but you got to find a way to drag out if you are going to do this 4 pillars storyline. Got to really find a way to drag this out. Before we get into the other stuff in AEW, I know Fred's put in our chat as he is watching Dynamite right now, so we're going to do some live reaction. So apparently, FTR is putting their AEW careers on the line against the Guns, and their contracts are allegedly up. This could be kayfabe, this could be a work shoot to bring in intrigue, but what are your thoughts on this new development?
That's interesting, actually. I would not have expected that, but I'm willing to see where it goes because I really like FTR. Yeah, I'm hoping. I don't know. The Guns, I don't know. Like, I like them, but I don't.
They bother me.
I have a hard time rooting for them, I guess. Well, especially when there's so many other, like, new tag teams that a lot of people haven't seen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a booking problem, and that has to deal with the man at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tony.
I like Tony, but sometimes I don't understand why he does what he does.
No one does. I don't even think Tony understands.
No.
Half the time.
No.
I was like, oh, get it together, Tony. But we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I enjoy FTR. I think FTR is good for them. I think FTR is very, very good for them. They're good spokesmen. They're great on the mic. They're fantastic in the ring. They're just unreal. So I would love for them to stay, but I wouldn't be surprised if they leave.
I could see them leaving.
Especially if VE is splitting and or unifying those titles and they're coming off of somebody real soon.
Yeah.
There could be some intrigue there for them to do a little comeback tour for a little bit. Could be. We'll see.
I think either way it'll be good.
Yes. Speaking of Goldberg-like streaks, Jade Cargill is still undefeated, but Taya Valkyrie has just shown up, which I'm actually very excited for because she got hosed in NXT, and everybody knows it.
Yep.
She got hosed really bad in NXT. But here's the question. Is Taya Valkyrie the one to finally defeat Jade Cargill, or is this just another stepping stone for Jade?
I really hope they have her beat Jade because it's nothing against Jade. I really don't dislike her, but at the same time, like I want something different with that title that she has.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of gotten stale for me at this point. I really hope they do something special with her though.
No, I think Jade is
title on her or something.
Jade is a special talent. Taya Valkyrie, I think, might be the perfect foil.
Yep.
For her, and at some point, like you said, Jade has to move on from that title.
Mm-hmm.
She has to start going to more of a main event scene. Like right now, she's a great upper mid carder.
Mm-hmm.
She is a great spokesperson for the organization, and the wrestling community. Like her baddie section is a really crazy thing that she does for everybody, but she needs to go up against the likes of like Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter and the people who are, and the Outcast, the people who are like really holding, that top spot with the women's division. And I think it's time for Jade to come through and be that next big women's champion. Like, I think she needs to defeat Hayter.
Yeah. It'd be nice to get. I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but it'd be nice to get Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker out of the title picture.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, Britt Baker was there, I think, for a long time because she needed to be there because they didn't have anybody else that was consistent and could speak on the mic and do well. I mean, granted, Thunder Rosa, I think, also got hosed towards the end of her time there.
Yep.
Which I think was a damn shame.
I know, because I really like Thunder Rosa, and I'm not a Britt Baker fan. I can't. I've tried. it's no hate towards her. I don't get it. I don't get why Tony loves her so much. Like if like what you said, how she was like the main piece at first when AEW started,
Yeah.
which I understood that.
She could be a
But
pillar
after,
herself if you really think about it.
yeah, but after he had brought a certain amount of people in, and she was still champion.
Yeah, it's like,
I
what are you
just
gonna do? Yeah.
like I have a hard time. I can't get behind her. It doesn't help she's from Pittsburgh, but
Oh
as a
yeah.
Cincinnati
Oh
fan, but
yeah, the
no,
Bengals. Yep.
uh, no, that's just a little rivalry thing. But yeah, I don't get the fascination with Britt. Oh, like the last title match that Jamie Hayter had. Like, why was Britt? Why? What's wrong with one-on-one matches? I don't. Britt doesn't always need to be in the title picture, regardless if it's her friend or not.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I would love to see Britt go for was it the TBS title?
Yeah,
You know, when it gets
I'd be
taken
okay
off of
with that.
Jade. Like, I would love to see Taya beats Jade, which is fine. That'll be a great moment. And I
Hmm.
think it helps out everybody. Jade moves up. Britt doesn't necessarily get demoted, but you still keep Britt in the picture. And she goes
Hmm.
up against Taya Valkyrie. They'll put on a fantastic match.
Right. Yeah. I just keep her away from the women's title for a little bit.
She doesn't need it. The women's title did what it was supposed to do with Britt Baker and made her a star. That's good. Now she can do something else.
Right. Exactly.
And Jade can be elevated, and I think they need to elevate Jade
Hmm.
sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Absolutely. Also, we got another breaking news from Mr. Fretz, who again just loves watching AW Dynamite. Adam Cole clearly is coming back. Speaking of Britt Baker, and his first opponent, potentially revealed, he's saying is Daniel Garcia.
Hmm. And I like Dan for whatever reason. I really like Daniel Garcia. I thought he was going to join Blackpool Combat Club for the longest time.
Yeah, but he's kind of doing his own thing.
Yep, and I actually really like that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, also great pickup for them from the Indies,
Hmm.
because he beat Christian Casanova, formerly known as Carmelo Hayes, to retire him from the Indies, and I was
Yep.
very impressed because we actually did sponsor that match, but I was very impressed by the work that he did, and I'm glad he got picked up. So he's going to be if he sticks around, he's going to be good for the future of
Hmm.
AEW. He's kind of got a look. He's got a kind of gritty character going with him, and I think it's going to work out. But speaking of the BCC, they tried to attack Hangman, but Hangman was saved by his on again, off again friends, known as the Elite Kenny and the Bucks. But they didn't really come to an embrace. Like, he turned around, they had a stare off, and then it went off air. Are we seeing the return of the true Elite, minus Cody?
Honestly, I could see it because even with that Texas death match that Mox and Adam had,
Brutal, by the way. I watched that.
oh, I loved every second of it. But he brought back the Hangman. Like, that was like one of his like original things that he did, and with them, I could totally see them being a group, or at least slowly building up to it.
Yeah, like the friends coming back together again,
Hmm.
type thing. And I didn't know. I was unaware that the Hangman was like his thing on like the Indies, where he was literally like hanging people.
Hmm. Yeah.
That makes sense. Hangman Adam Page. Okay, it makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah. A lot of people were like, "Why do they call him Hangman?" Then you like, I pull up a picture. Like, really, he used to do that? Yeah, a lot.
Listen, it works, and what I like about this is that obviously the Elite or Kenny and the Bucks don't really have a title on them at the moment, which I think is a blessing. So they
Let's
can,
keep it that way,
yeah,
please.
please, my goodness, please, and they can kind of do their own storyline, which is good because it'll help them build their character.
Hmm.
We'll also see what happens with this Because, I mean, the AEW fans still want to see this happen. Like,
Hmm.
it got big pops. It was a big deal that they kind of even had a stare off, which means that they're on to something booking wise.
Hmm. Or
Go ahead.
and even Mox had history with Omega with the world title. He also had
Yeah.
history with the Bucks with Eddie when they were going for the tag team titles before he entered rehab and all that. So there's definitely the history there too with
Hmm.
both opposing teams.
Yeah, no, there's a lot there. We're gonna see where it leads. Um, but first, Kenny has to beat El Hijo del Viking, I believe is what he's
Yeah.
called. Yeah, who is an indie sensation. I've seen some of the videos. He's big on the flippy stuff. He's perfect for AEW. He's
Yes.
absolutely perfect. They're calling this essentially a dream match. I don't know if this is main eventing. This sounds like it'll probably main event tonight. But have you ever watched El Hijo del Viking, Taylor?
I've seen highlights, but never like a full match.
Yeah, neither have I.
I've liked what I've seen, but I'm not just going to base it off of highlights. I would really like, I'd like to sit down and not just this match, but like all of his stuff and just see what he's like.
Yeah, so it is the main event confirmed by Frets, and El Hijo del Vikingo is actually a AAA guy, which I should have known because I think Kenny Omega still holds the AAA World Championship. I think he's just holding that hostage, which
Yeah,
is just such a shame. It's such a shame. But from what I've seen of him, um, he remind I people are I'm probably gonna get butchered for this, but he reminds me of Ricochet.
okay, yeah, I can see that. I could see that.
Yeah, I was like, he kind of reminds me of Ricochet. That's not a bad thing.
No,
No.
no.
But we'll see how he is with Kenny. Maybe he'll put the AAA title on the line so he can get it off of him.
Maybe.
Like, please, Kenny, for the love of God, work on the
Just
work on the video game, Kenny. Work on the video game. Get it out, please.
please just get rid of it.
Oh my God! But yeah, no, AEW's been really kicking in the high gear lately. WWE is in very high gear because it's WrestleMania season. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan.
This time of year is usually the peak, not necessarily the peak, but like a lot of stuff is happening at once.
Yeah, more exciting than baseball. Let me tell you that right now. Much more exciting than baseball. That pretty much concludes our show this week. Taylor, once again, thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule, which with your family and everything, to join me on King's Rings podcast. I hope you had a great time.
Yeah, I did. Thank you for having me. I loved every part of this.
Absolutely, you're welcome back anytime that you want, because we are in our friends of the show era, so we're always looking for special guests to show up on the show. So again, you can come back anytime. You're clearly friends with other people on the network like Nate, so wouldn't be surprised if you pop up on his show, but you are officially a friend of our show and our network, Kings of the Rings podcast. Is there anything that you would like to plug before we get out of here?
I do have a TikTok. I'm not the biggest account, but I'm really trying to grow this year. It's the same username as on the screen. On Twitter, it's the same too. And then also, I am going to plug my eFed because
Do it.
the guys who put in the work, like Logan, AJ, they put in a lot of work every week. We're New Generation Network. We're on Mondays with Dark, Thursdays with Asylum. Saturdays are Limitless, and then occasionally on a Sunday, once a month, we'll have a pay-per-view. It's really great stuff. Commentary is just great, and they put in a lot of work. And if you want to check it out, it's always at 8 p.m. Eastern on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So if you want to check it out, go give it a follow. It's some really great stuff. They've been putting a lot of work this year, and there's a lot of cool stuff coming from that.
Yeah, no,
And they also sponsor H2O Wrestling, which is just crazy. But
wow.
So a lot of cool stuff coming from that this year.
Wow, you're really doing some big things. That is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I love, even if I'm not on the card, I just love hanging out with all those guys because we've been doing this. We were a pole fed for a few years, and now we're switching over to 2K, and it's grown so much, and we're such a big family, and anyone's welcome.
Yeah. I tell you, you have a wild time when you guys move over to 2K, especially if you're using the new 2K system, because I've seen what they can do in universe mode now, which is pretty much a free for all. You can actually add cutscenes to all of these different matches and stuff now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you can literally start creating your own story within these matches. So it's going to be interesting. I'll definitely have to check that out. I know the eFed world is like a wild world and a wild subsection of the wrestling culture, which has gotten pretty big. But it does seem like it's a great time.
It's a lot of fun. Especially like there's a couple of girls that like I've known them forever, and we go back and forth. We do promos. I do promos on Twitter.
That's awesome.
And we go back and forth at each other, and it's so much fun.
That is absolutely awesome. So yeah, no, definitely go check that out. Taylor's. Are you going to be joining us a little bit for our post show?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're gonna debut something completely new on the post show, and it's called "Am I the Asshole?" Because I'm really excited for this. But before that, let's get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. You have been listening to Kings of the Rings podcast, episode number 333, the Bronze Kneecap. I have been your host, King Rickie Rose. You can formally find me at Ambassador Biggs across all social media outlets, but more importantly, find Kings of the Rings podcast at KOTR_podcast across all social media. Like, share, subscribe, leave some 5-star reviews. Go buy some of our merch. The link of all of that is in the description below. If you're listening to us, make sure you're listening to us on Wrestle Addict Radio, the cure for the common wrestling podcast. And follow Wrestle Addict Radio socials at addict_wrestle on Twitter and Wrestle Addict Radio everywhere else. Next week, folks, is going to be our big, massive, stupidly long for no reason WrestleMania preview show, where we're going to be covering everything involving WrestleMania weekend, and you're going to hear it first here today, right now. Will be back, which everybody kind of expected, and no one's really happy about. However, they're coming back too as well. That's right, the band's getting back together for WrestleMania preview show weekend. So make sure that you tune in next week, where all three of us are going to preview and break down all that is going to be the calamity that is going to be the most exciting week in all of pro wrestling, that is WrestleMania weekend. So for myself, and also for our special guest, Taylor Jade, the eFed queen that she is, we are going to get out of here. We are going to go into some fun stuff on the post show. But until next week, folks, goodbye, good night. We'll see you soon. And most importantly, fuck you, Slack. See you next week. And there we go. We are now on the post show. Welcome to our Tip of the Crown post show, Taylor, where, as you can see in the middle of our stream, we like to collect some of our favorite tweets from around pro wrestling and display them.
Oh my god.
So you never know what's going to show up, because I pick it differently every week. So our Tip of the Crown is actually going to start becoming a YouTube series and potentially a TikTok series in the coming weeks. Probably post-Mania will be the first episode. So we will be displaying all this stuff. So I wanted to experiment this with Will, but since Will has to, I don't know, do his girlfriend's birthday, you're going to be my guinea pig for it. So I've been enamored with this kind of on TikTok, where other podcasters have been reading the Am I the Asshole Reddit stream.
Oh my god.
And people comment about whether or not this person is the asshole, depending on the story. So we're going to determine if the person telling the story is the asshole right now. And I picked it at random really quickly. So the title of this is, Am I the Asshole for refusing to go on vacation with my boyfriend because he invited his friend without me? So the story goes this. So in a couple of weeks, my boyfriend and I have planned to go to France for a couple of days as a romantic getaway, in quotes. His own words, not mine, just to spend some quality time together because we've both been busy with work. Must be nice. I was excited about the trip to spend some quality time with my boyfriend, but then he drops this bombshell on me. He invited one of his friends because apparently he's always wanted to see France, so my boyfriend thought he would be kind and asked his friend to come along. So this was a big shock to me, and I told my boyfriend about my concerns. He told me that his friend has already paid for his flight ticket, and he said that he was planning on either changing our hotel room with to a room with two beds, or his friend would sleep on the sofa. He did all of this without telling me a thing. I told my boyfriend that quite frankly I don't want his friend to come and it was supposed to be a romantic getaway, but he said that this friend won't bother us and he'll do his own thing, but I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable with it. We argued for a bit more with him, saying that he paid for most of the trip, so he feels entitled to be able to bring his friend along. Wow. In the end, I just got so fed up, and I may be a bit dramatic, but I felt betrayed, so I told him I wouldn't be coming if his friend was. He said I was being ridiculous and I should go since it's been paid for anyway, and I was being overly dramatic, but this is how I feel. He said I was being manipulative and cruel for making him choose between me and his friend. Am I the asshole? I'm going to go with no.
I agree. No, like, you initially had set it as a romantic getaway, and now all of a sudden your friends. No, I would be so mad.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell, dude? Like, this was supposed to be our trip, not his.
Yeah. The best part is like, oh, we're either going to change this hotel room to a two-bed or he'll sleep on the sofa.
Oh my god, dude. Screwed. Oh my god.
Listen, as a representative of the cisgender male population, we are idiots sometimes, but I don't think anybody's that much of an idiot.
Oh my god.
Like, France, romantic getaway, this sounds perfect. No.
Oh, I'm gonna invite my friend because he's always wanted to go. No. Oh. No. I'm surprised she didn't break up with him over that.
Yeah, that's true. He's like, well, it's already paid for. And? Like,
Okay, what's your point?
oh my god, I love this stream. Okay. Wait, what is this one? Ooh, I found one. This one's got a lot of traffic. Okay, so here we're gonna do two more.
Okay.
Two more, and then I'll let you be because I don't want to keep you for too long. Obviously,
No worries.
Of course, I have to watch The Mandalorian because I got to get my Star Wars geek on real quick. So number 2, am I the asshole for telling my child's daycare teacher that my child won't finish cleaning up? So it says, my 2-year-old daughter has been in a home daycare for a few months now. The teacher, whose name is Sasha, is very nice. I'm normally all for my daughter cleaning her own messes. However, I find when I arrive, Sasha expects my daughter to finish cleaning up whatever she was playing with, which again would be fine, but it delays us getting out the door and heading home. Sometimes we have plans, etc. I started texting Sasha when I was so many minutes away, asking her to get my daughter ready, and that seemed to work. My daughter would be in her jacket and reading a book, easy to put away versus a huge Duplo project or similar. Very nice wording. Until today. Things were crazy and I was in a rush. We had a lot to do this afternoon and I was running behind because I had car trouble. When I arrived, my daughter and some friends were in the middle of cleaning up a big mess. I told my daughter that we had to go and to get her coat. Sasha said she needed to finish cleaning up her part. I said any other day, sure, but I am running late and we cannot miss this appointment. Sasha tried arguing that the kids need to learn responsibility, and I flat out said no. I grabbed my daughter, put her coat on, and left. As I said, hectic afternoon, so I only just now had time to check my text. I had one from Sasha saying poor planning on my part doesn't mean I can break rules. I pointed out this is not in the contract and I can bring my child home whenever I need and or want. She accused me of undermining her authority. I was given a quote verbal warning which I found ridiculous. Am I the asshole?
See, like, as a parent, I get it. Like, there's days where I pick up my son from daycare and he's like in the middle of something, and if it's like a once in a like while thing, like she's saying it is, like normally, yeah, clean up, but they
Yeah.
were in a rush. Like, I think the teacher could be a little bit flexible,
I think so too.
but then at like the same time, like I get where the teacher's coming from too, but I see both sides of it. But like if it's just a once in a while, I'm kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like, it doesn't normally happen.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, if she was in such good communication with the teacher, she should have texted her and been like, "Hey, I'm running late. I really got to take my child this one time. Like, why didn't you just do that?
Right.
Or like,
Because if you have,
hey, I'm having
yeah,
car trouble. We have a bunch of appointments. Like, she may not be able to stay. Is that cool?"
yeah, if you have that open line of communication, she should have said something. But like, I get it too, because like doctors' offices, for whatever reason, like the doctor can be 30 minutes late and there's no fee for them. But the second you're 5 minutes late, oh, your appointment's canceled. Like, so
Yeah.
I get that. I get that aspect of it too.
Yeah. It's just it's weird, but the teacher gave the mother a verbal warning, which I find hysterical. Like, what's that
I would
gonna
have
do?
laughed at that. I've been like, okay, and
What's that gonna do?
like,
Yeah, I'm gonna lead towards not the asshole here. It seems just like a one-time thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Here's the final one. This is a long one, but I also think it's really funny. Uh,
Okay.
says, "Am I the asshole for making my girlfriend cheap lasagna?" That's the title. Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
They say, I, 24 years old female, make a delicious lasagna from scratch that takes hours and lots of money to make. It's so good that friends and family ask me to make it for them for birthdays instead of getting them a gift. Last month, I decided to make it for my girlfriend, who's a 23 and a female. I spent a lot of money on the ingredients and then more than half of a day making the herb infused fresh pasta dough. Wow, the ragu, etc. Wow, this bitch can cook. When she came over, she took a couple of bites and said that she didn't understand why I spent so much time and money on it because it tasted exactly like the lasagna she would make with canned panzani bologna sauce and boxed pasta sheets. Not similar, not kinda like, but exactly like it. My feelings were a little hurt, not gonna lie, but I understand that to each their taste, and I just told her I'm sorry she didn't like it that much, and then kept it pushing and suggested we watch a movie. Flash forward to yesterday. She was coming over for dinner, and I asked her what she wanted to eat, and she said lasagna. So I popped over to the store and got panzani sauce and pasta sheets to make it because A, she said my lasagna and the quick made one tasted the exact same, so no need to spend a lot on ingredients. And B, because even if I had wanted to make my recipe, I wouldn't have the time since it takes me an entire afternoon, which is why it's a special occasions thing. So she showed up at my house, took one bite of lasagna, and then spat it out and said that it tastes different. When I told her I made it how she did, she got really upset at me and said that I wasn't putting in effort and that she was expecting to have a real meal and not something cheap. I pointed out the comment she made last time, and she rolled her eyes and said she was clearly exaggerating. So then I got upset because what the hell? The situation got brought up to our mutual friends. Most have stayed out of it, But two of them think I'm the asshole because my girlfriend clearly meant she wanted my special lasagna, which is why she asked for it as dinner, and that I should have let her known beforehand that I was going to make one using pre-made sauce, etc. I think it was clear that that's what I was going to do because she literally asked for lasagna 2 hours before coming over, which is not enough time to make the special one, even if I wanted to. Am I the asshole? To clarify, the cheap lasagna tasted just fine, pretty tasty even, just not all comparable to the original one in my opinion. And there's a last minute edit. Just wanted to say I posted the lasagna recipe in the comments for those interested, and I am interested in this lasagna recipe. I need to find it. I'm going to say she's not the asshole.
The girlfriend or the guy who made it?
Oh, no, they're both girls.
Oh, okay.
The
Sorry.
same-sex relationship, yeah.
Gotcha.
So there's the 24 who's the lasagna maker and the 23-year-old who's the lasagna not maker.
Okay. No, I don't think... I think communication, like, when she texted her, hey, like, I'm making lasagna, and if she knows it takes a whole day, like, I think she should know that it's not the homemade one.
Yeah.
But also... then she shouldn't have made that comment the last time, too. If it tastes the same, why are you complaining about it?
Yeah, it sounds like the younger one is superficial. Mm-hmm. And just wants things handed to her, like, oh, just make me lasagna. Like, are you not going to help?
Right, like, if I'm making the complicated one, at least help me.
Yeah, also, cooking can be fun with couples. It's great.
See, for me, I just get mad.
Oh, you're one of those.
Like, you get in my way. No, just, you know what? Get out of the kitchen. Bye.
That's like my dad with my mom. He needed the kitchen all to himself.
Like, if it's multiple ingredients, yes. Like, if it's just, like, pre-made something, okay, fine. But, like, yeah. I don't think she's an asshole.
Now, I need to find this lasagna recipe. I'm very intrigued by this. Oh, where is it? Yeah, no, this is great. I'm going to keep this segment. I like this "Am I the Asshole" thing. It's a good little segue.
Also, these tweets with Dom and him acting like he's been in prison. I want to strangle him every time he brings it up.
I love this character. You act like that in a
real prison, you will get the crap beat out of you.
Oh, that's right, because you do work in a prison, so you have a totally different perspective about this character.
Yes. And that whole teardrop tattoo by his eye. Oh my god. I've met inmates with teardrop tattoos.
Mm-hmm. So you have a personal disdain for this character.
I like it.
Yeah.
I do. But at the same time, I'm like, just stop talking. You don't know what you're talking about. You were in jail for 4 days. Like, I'm a hardened criminal. Say that to me in the yard. Like, shut up, Dom. You don't even know what you're talking about.
You know what I would really love? You might be too young for this, but do you remember, like, they used to do those, like, Scared Straight specials where they took those, like...
Yeah. Yep.
Like, I kind of want them to do that to Dom.
He can come to my word.
I mean, but, like, obviously with actors and stuff, and, like, totally
right.
Totally kayfabe. Like, don't actually put him in the prison because he won't survive. Like, don't do that to him.
Like, don't do that, Dom. Just shut up, please.
Yeah, like, kind of kayfabe it up, and I think that would be absolutely hysterical.
Just put, like, a bunch of the guards as the inmates and just see what happens.
Yeah, something like that. Totally Stanford prison experiment it. And just totally just mess with his mind. Because I would love to see Dom actually go to jail, and they, like, document it. Mm-hmm. And you get to see what he was really like. I think that would be hysterical.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I would enjoy that. Just some of the stuff he says. Like, there was one on TikTok. He's like, you wouldn't say that to me in the yard. Like... Stop. Just shut up. You don't... it's funny, but no.
Yeah, it must be scary for you. There's like, so do any of your, I guess, what are the inmates? They're called inmates. Am I saying it right? Inmates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, do they see that and do they get ticked off at Dom too, or like?
I don't know. I haven't been at work since he's had that gimmick, so I'm
Oh,
really
okay.
interested. I'm really interested when I go back on Saturday to see if any of them are watching it, because some of them do,
Yeah.
just to see what their take on it is. Like, I feel like some of them are gonna be like, "What the hell is this guy on?" But
Yeah, no, I would be interested to see like what do they if they watch like what do they really think about Dom playing this hardened criminal?
yeah, because like some of them are like actual like major gang members,
Yeah,
so I'm wondering like how they feel about that. But
because
oh my
he's
God,
essentially mocking them.
you're not wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah, because some of them they'll like act all tough like he is. Like like I just I don't even know what to say to him. Like I like it, but like come on, man.
no, it's dangerous. If he ever goes to like real jail and someone's seen his work on TV, it's not going to be good for him.
No, that would like if he actually gets arrested and he goes to jail and they recognize him. Oh, he's
Yeah, it's not going to be fun.
no. I mean, like some jails have like special
Oh yeah,
parts.
he had to be held like with probably like more security around him so no one gets to him.
Yeah, kind of like because we house. I don't know if you remember the story from 2018, but Chris Watts, who killed his pregnant wife and daughters,
It does sound familiar, yeah.
he is in a Wisconsin prison right now.
Mm.
So there's like with the prison that he's at a special wing per se
Yeah.
to keep him away from, or like if like I got thrown in
Oh,
prison,
he's not with Gen
which
Pop. That's what he's not with Gen Pop.
yeah,
Yeah.
like or like I got thrown in prison because I'm a correctional officer,
Yeah.
like they'd put me somewhere
They
else.
put you away from the general population. Yeah.
Yeah, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, I want to see like I would love to see Dom actually go to jail in like a kayfabe form and see
Yeah,
what they do with it. That's got to be on the writing room table somewhere.
and if it's not, I'm
Like someone's got to be pitching that. Be like, listen, we got to find a way to actually send them to like a jail, and like mess with people.
and have like the guards just mess with them. Because oh, if that happened at my work, hey, you want to be a part of this? Yes. You don't even have to pay me. I'll do it for free.
But say they'll probably pay you guys really well too.
Right.
They got the
Because there's
money
a
to do
couple of
it.
units that we don't have inmates on right now. So
Oh, so you can literally like close off a unit for essentially production.
yeah, we could. Yeah. Because
That's
there's like
wild.
there's a couple of units that we use for like training scenarios, like
Oh, okay.
trouble calls and all that stuff, or if you come upon someone that's self-harming, I guess,
Yeah,
without getting too graphic, but
I understand.
because I know that's not for everyone, and
Yeah.
because I'll tell stories to some people about, and they just look at me like, I'm like,
You're like,
okay,
yeah,
sorry,
you're, yeah.
I'm used to it. You're not. I got it. Okay.
I get it. When you're in the field long enough, you just become numb to stuff. You're just like, yeah, that was Tuesday.
No, that's a normal Tuesday for me. I don't.
Yeah.
Then you forget about it, and then like 3 years later, you remember it. You're like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And then people look at you weird because you remembered something like that, and I'm like, yeah, just let it go. That's where the sarcasm develops because you just got
Right. Exactly.
you
That's
just
how I cope.
yeah, that's how you cope. You gotta laugh at it somehow.
Yep.
Or else it's gonna eat you alive.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely. But let me get you out of here. And let's get off this real quick. But thank you once again for being part of the show. It was absolutely fantastic. So we are going to get out of here, people who are watching on the post show, and we will see you guys next week when the band gets back together. See ya.